Welcome to Kicking and Screaming, a new show that brings you musicians talking about their love of football and footballers talking about their love of music. For our first episode, we've gone big. Big hair, big shows, big noise, and a huge devotion to the game. Recently, Def Leppard played a massive homecoming show alongside Motley Crue at Sheffield United's Bramall Lane Stadium. It was a particularly special moment for lead singer Joe Elliott as he performed on stage where he's watched his beloved Blades so many times. Before the show, we sat down with Joe at the Lane to talk about how he became a Blade, keeping up since leaving Sheffield, and his worshipping of United's greatest ever player, Tony Currie. Joe, first of all, this is a new programme, but I'm going to ask the same question of everyone. So if you had to choose between playing up front for Sheffield United at Bramall Lane or on stage with Def Leppard at Bramall Lane, what would be your choice?
That's a horrible question. That's like asking somebody who's their favourite child.
I'm just trying to get a gauge of where we're at.
I got to say, I think it would be playing with a band. It really would, because I mean, I love soccer, but as a kid from the generation that I am, it was like that TV show Logan's Run. You were done at 32. I'm 63 and we're still doing this. In fact, the popularity of the band is going up. Or we've re-achieved success that we never thought we'd make it. Get first time round. Never mind, do it twice. I played football here, and I scored a goal at the Cough End. Actually, I played in Tony Currie's testimonial with George Best, and he passed to me, and I passed back to him. And they're moments I'll never forget. But nothing beats being the front man of this band. Really doesn't.
So why Sheffield United then? You grew up. You grew up in Crooks, didn't
you? I grew up in Broom Hill. It was just below the waterline of having to be a Wednesdayite, It's a family thing, My dad, bless him, was actually, he'd go see both Wednesday United, When he could afford to do it as a kid, he would, because they were always home and away, so every week it was one or the other, My father's loyalties were kind of cemented pretty much maybe about 1967-68, I don't know what happened, but he just fell on the red side more than the blue. And as a kid, you take notice of your parents. And not that we were going to games, because I didn't see my first game till the 71-72 season. But the thing is as well with me, and I think it's why I am in a band, is everybody at Hunters Bar Junior School, which was my junior school, everybody was a Wednesday night. And I just didn't want to follow the herd. I thought, well, everybody, there was like 2 kids at Sporting United and everybody else were Wednesdayites. And I don't know what it was. Maybe I was, the school bully was a Wednesdayite. So just because of that, I was going to be United. I don't remember specifics, but I just became a Unitedite like overnight about 1967, 68. And, I'd follow them through the paper and Shoot magazine and stuff like that, and you'd be once every 6 weeks there'd be a little article on United because we weren't particularly, special in the sense of like George Best and Bobby Charlton and all that lot. Till TC raised the profile of the team somewhat, and you'd see him on the front cover of things. Then you're like, whoa, look! You'd see it in the shop on a Thursday morning, and there's Tony Currie on the front of Shoot, and then. My dad bought season tickets for when we got promoted, and then that was my first ever game. Was Saturday afternoon. It'd be August '71, and it was at home to Southampton, and we won 3-1.
How old were you then?
I was just 12, literally by a couple of weeks, and then the Tuesday night, which was amazing because I'd never been out that late on a Tuesday, an 11-year-old kid. Downtown for a 7:30 kickoff, and it was against Leeds of all teams. And in those days, the Bramall Lane stand was full of Unitedites. Maybe there were Leeds fans down on the ground you couldn't see from where our seats were, but it was jam packed full of Unitedites, and we won 3-0. And I thought this was like best thing ever because you're so impressionable when you're 12 years old, And it was the beginning of my whole relationship with music and football, because just literally October of that year I saw my first concert at the Sheffield City Hall. It was T-Rex on the Electric Warrior tour. Get It On had just been a hit and Jeepster had just been released. So now because I've been to the football matches with my parents, they actually let me go to a gig when I was 12. I think it's because they just realised he's not a kid anymore, you know. So it was all tied in together, the football and the music, all the way through the 70s. I was buying records, but always going to the lane every other week. And I went on the cop, like all kids did with my mates. And, because I got to that age where my parents wanted to sit down in the stand and I didn't want to sit in the stand anymore. So they'd be in the stand and I'd be on the cop, you know.
And around that time, as you said, that there were footballers, and Tony Currie was, of course, your favourite player.
TC became my idol because he was ours. But I was a huge fan of just football in general. So I didn't hate every other team. Didn't hate Wednesday. I didn't care, you know. But I loved watching people like Rodney Marsh and George Best, of course, and
everybody, all of those types of players. They kind of had that
Mavericks.
They had that Mark Bolan kind of.
They were rock stars. These guys, there was Stan Bowles, there was Alan Hudson, Rodney Marsh, Frank Worthington, and Tony Currie was ours. Shirt out, socks down, long hair. They were rockers, you know, and they were actually, because I've met Frank Worthington and the guy was like Elvis, you know. I've played in testimonial games with Tony, and I've played in like charity events with Frank Worthington back in the day. And after the game was over, all Frank wanted to do was talk about music and have a pint and say, how's the band doing and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, my God, this is Frank Worthington, you know. They were as fascinated by what we were doing as I was with what they used to do, you know. And I remember once we were playing in the new den. It had just opened at Millwall, and we got Frank in to play for Def Leppard. We had this charity game, and we got a penalty. And of course, you know, big man here gets the ball, and Frank goes, "What do you think you're doing?" Takes the ball off me, and he goes, "Watch this." And he did one of them, is he called a Zamboni or something, where you put your foot round this side, and he just skimmed over the top of the bar. And I went up to him and I went, "Oh, hard luck." And he went, "Hard luck." He says, "It was supposed to hit the bar, come back, chest it down, volley it in." Apparently it's his party piece. Now you see, that kind of thing, I imagine, was just, it was the territory of people like TC and Frank and Rodney Marsh that would just do things that are off the charts. You're born to do this. You don't learn that on a training ground. It's just something that you do because you're a show off. You learn that down some cobbled street when you're 10. And when you get spotted playing for some local scout team, and then you end up in some, you know, minor league thing and spotted by a scout, and then off you go. You become TC and you become Rodney Marsh. They're the kind of things that you still got it in your locker, but I've no doubt that the suit and tie grown-ups try and beat it out of you for, you know, teamwork and all kinds of stuff. But sometimes, and I've seen TC do it, anonymous until 4:30, losing 1-0, and by 20-5 you've won 2-1 because of some little bit of magic that you can't be taught. And that was what TC had. It didn't happen every day, I'd be the first to admit. He didn't do it every single game. We'd have won the league if he had. But that magic that we see in you know, the Ronaldos and Messis and De Bruyne and all this kind of stuff, TC was United's superstar, you know. But because of him, obviously you're taking notice of everybody else. It's the dropping it on a sixpence in front of Alan Woodward 60 yards away. Then you notice who Alan Woodward is, and you know, and you realise how great Ted Emsley and Len Badger were, and how great Tom McAllister was as a goalkeeper. He was fantastic, way better to me than John Hope. I thought that he was magnificent when he was playing for us until he got badly injured, and then he disappeared for years and came back as West Ham's keeper. It's like, what happened there, you know? But then we had some great players in that team. Stuart Scully and Gil Reese, Jeff Salmons. Jeff was awesome. He was like the other side. He was the right-hand side of Tony's left, you know. And Billy did.
All these players' names, they're all seared into your memory.
Oh yeah, Billy did. Yeah, I did. Hope, Badger, Hemsley, Flynn, Colloon, Hockey, Woodward, Salmons, Dearden, Curry, Reese. Substitute Scullion. Probably, you know. And of course, things change, you know. We had stand-ins come and go if somebody gets injured. John Faulkner stood in for Eddie Colloon, or We bought Chris Guthrie from Carlisle, who was a complete failure. Scored like 1 goal maybe, I don't know. Keith Eddy came in, he was fantastic. But, you know, Trevor Hockey. I'll never forget Trevor Hockey once playing for United, and he got really badly. I mean, he wouldn't be allowed these days, but his head was just torn open. And he went off at half time, and nobody expected him to come back out for the second half. And like 10 players came out, and then it was brilliant theatre. About 10, 15 seconds later, out comes the caveman with this massive big thing, like the one that Terry Butcher is more famous for, wrapped round his head, and he comes charging out, and like, none of this nonsense.
He probably had a big beard.
Yeah, the whole beard. He does. He looked like a troglodyte, you know. And we heard all these rumours about he had this E-type Jag or something that was covered in purple suede, and it was like, you know, he was obviously a bit of a nutter, you know, but our nutter, so that's fine, you know. But he was great. I mean, my God, I've never seen a player get stuck in. Made Billy Bremner look like a ballet dancer. You know, I mean, he was insane. So all these players, and TC was still there when all this lot were coming in, you know, and obviously come 76, he moves to Leeds. I'm 17. I'm starting to go to more gigs than football matches. As soon as we get relegated, and we started drifting down to the fourth, it got really despondent, you know. I remember when we were working as a band, just because of the location, I went to see United play at Aldershot, and I remember thinking, what am I doing here? But Bob Hatton scored and we won. But yeah, those 5 years when I was 71 to 76 watching TC, you know, and I was insanely kind of proud of him but jealous of the fact that he was popping these ridiculous goals in for Leeds. And he never got enough England caps.
We move into the 80s, the band, well established, huge in the States. You obviously spent a lot, I was going to say, spent a lot of time in the States, but you would have been spending a lot of time just travelling the world because, you know, global act. What was it like in those days then? Because obviously there was no internet, no phones everywhere. How did you keep up with United and what?
I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember how I kept up with United when we were in the States. I probably actually didn't, because other than phone calls to a mate when you could afford to make an international phone call, just because we were big, we didn't get paid for a year. So we was selling zillions of records in the States, and I was on $100 a week. So you couldn't afford. You know, there was this trick that we learned from somebody. When you picked up the old rotary phones, if you lift it off and dial a 9, and as it hits back you do a 0, it clicks. So it's what the phone people, the companies, use to test the lines, and somebody must have told somebody. It spread through rock and roll. It's like, it works in this hotel. Make all your calls back to your mum and dad for free. Sometimes it didn't work, you know, and you get this $200 bill, you're like, oh no. But for the most part you get through. But that's how difficult it was to stay in touch with people back here. But you have to remember that we weren't spending that much time in the States. We were selling lots of records in the States, but we were still in the UK or in Europe, which is a lot easier to keep getting in touch. We were only in America in 1983 from May till September. So consequently, it was like half of that was like there was no football on. And then I was back home, and you know, you've got Match of the Day, or you've got the daily papers where you can follow the results of a team that's going down each league. And I used to come to games. I mean, I was still, you know, I would drive up to Sheffield and come to the home games with my mate who had season tickets in the what is the TC stand now? Was it the Labour stand at the time? So I had season tickets there. And what was really weird was when, after the Hysteria album, when we did become very popular in the UK, I would come to the games, and you know, everybody sat down except me because I'm walking to my seat. So you're this Felicia Beacon, and they're all going, "It's your man." So I kind of got this little kind of area that knew who I was, but they didn't bother me. You know, it was great, really.
It's quite a Sheffield thing. That really isn't. Nobody would have bothered you because of it.
No,
everybody's just very down to earth.
Didn't care, you know. So you know, and I'd go with my mum and dad, and sometimes they wouldn't come. So my mate would take the season tickets. So I was, you know, but then I moved to Ireland. I started living in Ireland, and because we got promoted with Bassett, or we were doing really well with Harry, I started coming more games because there's not really much with the greatest respect, there's not a great appeal to fly to another country to watch United play Port Vale. There just isn't, you know. But there is if they're at home to Tottenham or Man U or, you know, whoever was, you know, Arsenal, Liverpool. So I would get up in the morning, drive to the airport, go parking long term, fly to Manchester, rent a car, drive to Sheffield, have lunch with my mum and dad, go to the game, have a quick pint with them, or lemonade for me because I'm driving. 5:15, I got to go. I got to be out of here by 5. Get back to Manchester. It was fly back to Dublin, then drive home. I get home 10:30, 11 o'clock. It was a 12, 15 hour day to come watch United. I had the energy to do that, but it kind of dried up about 20 years ago because, you know, you got a family, you got kids and stuff like that, and all of a sudden Saturdays aren't just your time, and if they are, it's Jeff and the boys in the panel on Sky, you know, because I literally live in a different country. So the last time I was at the Lane, like not the last time, I've seen them at Wembley, but I don't go anymore because we always lose. So I've stopped. I don't want to be their bad luck kind of mascot or whatever. But the last time I was at a game, I was sat next to TC, and it was against Arsenal in 2005. And we won 1-0, and Paddy Kenny got injured, and Jags had to go in the net, and Christian Nadar scored, and Arsene Wenger couldn't believe that Jags was such a great goalkeeper for an outfield player. So that's 18 years ago since I've been here, because we have just been non-stop working, or I have genuinely been away, or I'm at home and I'm following them because of the fact that, you know, technology being what it is. You can see every game at home and pay for it, pay the tenner to watch the feed and stuff like that. You know, it's sad, but I don't live in Sheffield, so. But they're always here. They'll never not be here, you know. And this season, just like when we under Bassett in 86, 87, 88, watching that team. I mean, I became best mates with Bob Booker. He's still a friend of mine now. You know, we text all the time. He's coming to see us at Wembley. He's a mad Leopard fan, you know, and a good mate. You know, I got to know those guys. Harry used to invite me out on, you know, the Saturday night if we'd won a game. So the boys going for a meal, want to come with us. So I'd be hanging out with Vinnie Jones and all that. It was mental. I mean, those guys were mental. But fair play to Vinny, I will say, single-handedly stopped us getting relegated. When he came in, we were gone. And then we beat Forest 3-2. Then we lost, I think. Then we started winning. And all from January onwards, I don't think we lost another game. And I remember we were losing last game of the season, 2-0 at home to Tottenham. And when Venables was managing them, and we got it back to 2-2, and it just seemed like a great metaphor for the season. It's like struggle, hang on, we're not done. And finishing 2-2 and I think 9th or 10th in the league, having been bottom till Christmas, was an outstanding, you know, season really. So I mean, I really enjoyed all that lot. But watching from afar what we did under Chris Wilder was equally as amazing to, you know, as a fan, because like I say, it's here. It doesn't really matter where your body is. It's the fact that you know. In fact, it's actually better in many respects because there's no seats left for me to buy a ticket anyway. They're all sold out. But it's, you know, the media the way it is now. I can just I can follow the Sheffield Star website and then get 100 articles a day on United. You know, and too many of them actually. You don't need that many. And then. You know, watching them this season, obviously, on the Hex has been amazing. I mean, to be quite honest, it's been very frustrating for me because I see nearly every game, and I don't think we've been playing great football. I think it's not been great to watch, but I think that's me. I think I'm interpreting it wrong. I think I was so desperately wanted to just once turn the team over 6-0, like Ipswich have been doing all season, albeit the league below. But why did it always have to be 1-0 and heart attack for the last 20 minutes? Even when we beat Cardiff 4-1, it was a flattering result. You know, it's like, can we just bury it? I mean, there's so many chances, but they're just not converting that many. So next season's going to be tough. But I would rather us playing those teams and win a few less and do what Nottingham Forest have just done. Survive. If we finish 17th, result, you know, and then we can build on that, you know.
We're here at Bramall Lane because tomorrow. You're kicking off your European tour alongside. It is the kick-off, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah.
Alongside Motley Crue on a European tour. This is special, starting things off here, isn't it?
Oh, it's totally special. I never even. This wasn't even on a bucket list for me. I know Springsteen had played here, but it never entered my head. Well, maybe we can one day, you know. And we have a Sheffield Wednesday supporting bass player. There was Don Valley. It was the perfect neutral venue, and then it was gone. So it's like, you know, but there is no infrastructure to do this at Hillsborough, and I've got to say, hand on heart, if there was, and that's where they suggested, I wouldn't have had a problem with it, because this has nothing to do with football. But this is Bramall Lane, and we've just got promoted, and we're not going through the playoffs, and there was none of that, you know, having to move the venue, because it's like, what happens if we have to enter the playoffs, you know? So it's incredibly special, because it's our birth town. 21 years I lived here and came to see United from the age of 12, right through until I said 2005 was the last time I saw them actually at the Lane. But this is a special place to me. It's a pilgrimage tomorrow to come here and think, I can't believe that I'm actually going to be playing a gig at this ground that I first walked into in 1971 to watch United beat Southampton 3-1. And we're going to be doing a gig here, sold out gig tomorrow. It's unbelievable.
And the other big event happening at the minute is you brought out the album on Friday just gone. Drastic Symphonies, which is a reimagining of, I was going to say your best work, but I guess whatever you've chosen to do it. And it's with the London Philharmonic?
The Royal Philharmonic. The Royal Philharmonic, yeah. There's a distinction because there is two. Yes, we basically deconstructed 16 of our most symphonic tunes that were orchestrated on guitars originally, and it's something that we've always done. And we stripped them back down to basics, fitted the orchestra parts on, and then sought to see which bits of the original recordings needed to survive, because this is a very ego-free band. We have guitarists going, pull the guitars out. We want the strings to be the star of this particular record. And, you know, certain bits didn't work, so I re-sang certain songs, and we completely reworked one of our most famous tracks, Pour Some Sugar on Me, is now a piano ballad, like a blues song, and a duet with a friend of ours, this fantastic singer-songwriter called Em Griner. She's just an unbelievable talent, and we did it as a duet. So it's totally different to anybody else. It kind of
changes the interpretation of all the songs as well whenever you do something like that.
Yeah, and we wanted it to sound symphonic, but we wanted it. The simplest way to explain what we were trying to achieve was we wanted every song to sound like James Bond. We wanted it to have that grandeur of a James Bond car chase, and I think we pretty much achieved that with most of the songs. Yeah.
A little present from us to you, the 1992 promotion shirt.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, pal.
Cheers, mate.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Look at that.
I'm going to have it framed like they all do. Put it up in my snooker room. I don't have a snooker room. I'll put it in the kitchen and annoy the wife.
Are you excited for the concert, and why?
I'm buzzing. It's once in a lifetime to see Def Leppard in Sheffield. So.
Oh my god, are you joking? It's Def Leppard, and like I love the fact that the lead mill, they're trying to shut the lead mill down, and then they did a special gig there in support of the lead mill, and we've been waiting for this day, haven't we? Like,
and
we've
it's
had
the fact
tickets
that
so
the
long.
United Arts as well.
It's United,
So,
yeah. And it's
Any
Sheffield, the
chance to
hometown. Yes.
Oh, very much so. So excited.
Yay! Of course.
Yeah, definitely.
And to see Def Leppard in their hometown is like a dream. So
good. We're dressed like an Oreo. So.